Baseball had never seen a team quite like the 1934 St. Louis Cardinals of the National League, a perfect symbol for a country down on its luck. They were daring, hot-headed, raucous, unstoppable. The carefully crafted creation of General Manager Branch Rickey and his revolutionary farm system. In a time when people were forced to make do with less, the poorly paid Cardinals were everybody's heroes. Left fielder Joe Medwick, called Ducky because he ran like one, swung at almost everything, but connected often enough to lead the league in runs batted in 3 seasons running, and to win the National League Triple Crown, something no one else has managed since.
Navin Field, Detroit. Baseball's mighty drama draws a throng of 48,000.
The Cardinals faced the Detroit Tigers in the 1934 World Series.
Crowder hooks one over the plate to Medwick, and it's a homer.
At the plate, Ducky Medwick was well on his way to setting a World Series record for most hits.
Joe, you're within 2 of the World Series record. Do you think you'll break it today as far as hits are concerned?
Well, Pep, I'll be trying my best. I only hope I can live up to that record that you did. Rather, the series that you had, and I'm sure I will break it.
Hello, boy.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I hardly need to tell you that there is a capacity crowd gathered here in the stands at Navin Field in Detroit, Michigan this afternoon to witness the 7th and final game of the 1934 World Series between the Cardinals of St. Louis and the Tigers of Detroit.
When we won the pennant in 1934, Detroit went absolutely crazy. They upset streetcars and they had dancing in the streets, and it seemed that when the season was over that year, that Detroit was a completely different town than it was in the spring. Of course, they treated us like royalty.
That infield drove in more runs than any infield in the history of baseball. 462 runs. I don't know, maybe someday somebody will beat it, but it's going to do a lot for that. You're going to have a lot of power to do it.
The 1934 World Series was a humdinger. It was nip and tuck between both teams. We split the first 2 games in Detroit. We won 2 out of 3 in St. Louis. We had come into Detroit leading 3 games to 2 and looked like we were going to cinch the World Series at home before the home fans.
2 men are out, and it's up to Greenberg. The big moose might just come through with a hit at this time. It's hard to tell.
I said to myself, with all this commotion, Paul Dean will probably throw me a fastball. I'm going to jump on it. So I got all set in my mind and everything, and sure enough, in comes a fastball right where I can handle it, and I stand there and take the ball. Then subsequently, I pop up and make out, and then the Cardinals come on and score 2 runs, and they beat us by 1 run, which forces the 7th game of the World Series. From that time on, I've often thought of what would have happened if I had happened to jump on that fastball.
In the 7th and deciding game, Dean and the Cardinals were already ahead by 7 runs when Ducky Medwick, star of the series, came to the plate.
1 ball and 1 strike on Joe Medwick. Tommy Bridges on the mound again. Gets a signal from Mickey Cochran. He's all set for the delivery. Here it comes, and it's a foul. Back up against the screen, back of the plate, and the count is now 2 strikes and 1 ball. And another new one tossed out to Tommy Bridges, standing back to the mound, rubbing his gloves off. Pepper Martin is down on second base. There's 2 away. The count is 2 strikes and 1 ball on Medwick to his batting. Bridges gets on the mound, getting a signal from Cochran. He's all set for the delivery. Here it comes, and it's a drive going out to deep right center. Looks like it might be in the stands out there. Awful close, it's against the screen. Martin scores, and Medwick is racing for third base. Here he comes, and he pulls up at third with the triple. A little hard feeling down there between Owen and Medwick both shoving each other around. And all of the players from both clubs are charging out there. Looks like we're going to have a little scrap there for a moment.
The Detroit crowd turned ugly. When Medwick later took his position in left field, the Detroit fans pelted him with eggs, fruit, and bottles.
Joe had tripled, and he slid into third base, and Joe had a way of sliding with his right leg was underneath him and his left leg was up about knee high.
And he caught Marvin on the shirt here. And I guess Marvin thought he was trying to cut him.
And it was not intentional. It's the only way he knew how to slide. And he didn't try to cut Owens or anything.
And with that, when Marvin took the ball and started after him.
And he took a punch at Joe, and that was his first mistake.
It's a good thing they stopped him, because Medwick would have probably injured Owen for life.
And the war was on.
The last half of the sixth inning coming up, and Medwick is really getting a reception out in left field now from the fans out there in the bleachers. They're throwing oranges, apples, and everything else out on the field. And it'll just about hold up the game here for quite a while. Even a few pop bottles have landed out there on the field. The umpires are going out trying to stop them. And now they're waiting for the groundkeepers to come out on the field and help clear off the stuff that's been thrown out there. And the fans continue to boo Medwick out in left field. The umpires are out in left field too, that is part of them. Clem and Owen trying to get the fans to quit. Just the minute Medwick goes back to his position, they start throwing pop bottles and stuff out on the field. That's probably the first time that this has ever happened in a World Series. That's probably another record. If I was Mr. Medwick, I don't think I'd be interested in playing left field out there anymore this afternoon with these pop bottles flying out there like they are at the present time.
And then when Medwick took his place out in the field at the end of the inning, why the fans out there were so discouraged and upset by that time. They'd all come out to the game early expecting the Tigers to win the seventh game, and they all brought their lunch with them, and they started to throw it at Medwick in the field.
They threw everything, bottles, and it was really a dangerous situation.
Pop bottles, additional pop bottles come down, but I think that he's going to be able to stay. And Judge Landis, we just got the information, Judge Landis has ordered that Medwick be taken out of the game for safety. And Medwick is trotting into the dugout. Landis sent the word down to have him take Medwick out, which means that Chick Fullis will promptly go out to left field for the Cardinals. The old boy that's been out there trying to get a picture of Medwick all the time has been bouncing all the way around. And the judge has sent for Medwick to come right up to and he's gone right up to where Judge Landis' box is and getting his picture made with the judge. So evidently, Medwick is going to be out of the game, and that will mean that Frankie Frisch is also going in there to talk to Judge Landis. All of the players are gathered up around the judge's box now.
By removing Medwick for his own protection, Landis had also deprived him of the chance to set the record for most hits in a World Series.
It was a bad display on the part of the baseball fans of Detroit, but I can understand it. I felt if I'd have had something to throw at him, I'd have probably thrown it too. I was so upset.
Well, it was no different slide than I've been using all my life, and this happened in the seventh inning of the last game of the World Series in Detroit. And Frisch was on first base, and I hit this ball into right center field, and it ricocheted off the right field wall. And as I passed shortstop, I was watching my coach, who was then Mike Gonzalez, giving me the stand-up sign, which means there was no play and I wasn't going to attempt to score. And as I kept getting closer to third base, I noticed Marvin Owens, who was then the third baseman for Detroit, straddling third base. And as I came closer to third base, he made a tag at me, and with that I slid pretty viciously, I presume, and rolled him over, and we swung at each other. No one hit each other, but it was one of those plays at the spur of the moment. And after the inning was over, I went into left field, And I don't know where they got this stuff, but they threw this stuff for about 34 minutes, and the game couldn't continue. So the commissioner called us in front of his box and asked me if I slid into him deliberately, which I said I didn't. It was part of my slide. And he asked Marvin Owens something, which I didn't hear what he said. And after 34 minutes, he decided that it would be better to take me out of the ball game so as it could continue, which I think he did right. But the only thing I felt about it was if two men were supposed to participate in the fight, they should both be ejected. As it was, I was ejected. I still had one more time to go to bat, and at that time, 11 hits was a record, which I had. And I had another chance to go to bat, and I will never know whether I would or I wouldn't got a base hit, but he did the right thing.